Hello buddy, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quake Magic gameplay. This time around we are once again playing a little bit of Lizardmen against High Elves on the map Troll Country. And of course, many of the considerations with this build are much the same as the last one. However, the approach we're going to be taking, well, is quite a bit different. Obviously, a main concern when you're dealing with High Elves is that they're going to bring some nasty monsters, some annoying Star Dragons, Techless, of course, on his bird, going for that net fire breath combo to just melt all your HP away in a single gout of flame. Perhaps Hilarial just stalling things out, healing up nobles, fireborn. Units like elite units like that for all eternity while you're not able to whittle them down. And so for this build, that's kind of a primary concern, and that's what we're going to be trying to break. But rather than just trying to tank through everything with a fat Dreadsaurian and just stomping all over everything, we're actually going to be going for a slightly more subtle approach and bring some missile play of our own. So, going over the composition here for my Lord Rockin' Lord Mazda Mundi. Now, I think he's a pretty solid pick against the High Elves. On Zlok, he is pretty beefy, he's pretty tanky, he's got 130 armor. He's got some baked-in missile resist, though I did make a big mistake here and didn't bring the Sunburst Standard of Hexoidal, so my missile resist is actually only 15% when it could be 27% if I brought that Sunburst Standard. That's something you want, especially to deter breath attacks, so definitely big misplay there. Otherwise, of course, Mazda Mundi does have Fear and Terror. He's a solid combatant. Obviously, he's not going to be beating down most of the High Elf single entities in mono-and-mono combat, but with some help and with a little bit of a surround, he can definitely dish out the hurt. Besides that, we of course have Great Archicado. We've got the Bound Banishment, though of course no Ruination of Cities. Ruination, especially now when it's bugged and all of the lines or all of the wind spells or whatever it might be from it go in the same direction. It's basically a completely worthless ability, so definitely wouldn't recommend bringing it. But Banishment, still very good for punishing enemy blobs. Usually pays for itself. Shield of the Old Ones, of course, for those resistances. Apotheosis for the heals. We got Curse of the Midnight Wind to debuff enemy melee attack. Obviously, the negative armor isn't very relevant when almost my entire army here has AP damage, but reducing melee attack can be very valuable to keep Mazda Mundi or some of my key units here alive. We got a net to potentially snare enemies in place for the Razordons to shoot them down. And then finally, Harmonic Conversions, which can boost the mediocre stats of some of these lizard troops to help them fight a little bit better. For example, help Crocscours fight against cavalry, or maybe help a Saurus Scarvet take on a single entity. Now, for a front line, it's a mix of red-crested skinks, including the cohort of Sotek, as well as some vanilla skinks with javelins. Nothing too fancy. They're really just here to screen for the Crocscours to protect them and let the Crocscours really take their paddles and put the beat down on any High Elf infantry that might take the field. And Crocscours, of course, an absolute terror for High Elf infantry. Only really Phoenix Guard can take on them, and even they will definitely be threatened by a combination of Crocscours with help from the Red Crested Skinks. Behind that, we do have some Razordon hunting packs. Now, these guys are definitely a little vulnerable to cav play here because we don't really have much flank security, but I was kind of hoping that the high mass from the Crocscours with some buffs from Mazda Mundi could hold the line. But Razordons do dish out insane amounts of damage, about 2,400 every 10 seconds, so they can really rip into big targets like a Star Dragon very quickly, especially if it's netted in place. We also do have two Saurus Scarvets, both with Foe Seeker. These guys are a decent anti-large combatant. They can help snipe out single entities, help pressure cavalry, provide support to the Crocscour mob, that sort of thing. And we do have two of them rocking and rolling there to protect Mazda Mundi. Now for my opponent, he has gone with a Lariel as well as a Star Dragon. Now Larry over here is coming in with a handful of abilities. She does have her Immunity Psychology, Boon of Isha, which grants magic damage as well. No Shield Stone, surprisingly, so we're not going to be seeing that physical resist aura, and that is going to mean that both she as well as the Dragon are much more vulnerable to missile play, and I think that is an item you usually want to bring, especially against a faction like the Lizards that doesn't have too much magic damage. I think it's pretty strong. Unless you're dueling like a Slan, which a Slan's a vegetable in melee anyway, so who cares. Besides that, she does have Tempest. Probably worried about a little bit about some air plays. I don't think it's really worthwhile, but I guess you always want to be ready for that surprise tic-tac-toe pick, or maybe some King Chiefs, because King Chiefs can be a bit of a nuisance, and they do tend to blob, so if you can hit them with both with a Tempest, you can potentially snipe them out. Earthblood, of course, for those mad heals. We do have Star of Avalorn as well to heal that dragon up to full, so definitely looking to get some mass value there. Alongside her, we do have some hero squads down here. We do have a single noble. He is mounted on a chariot, so able to mulch my infantry. And despite the supposed nerf, this guy is still quite the presence against single entities. He can still dish out a lot of hurt to units like cavalry or Croxagores, and he'll even do some damage to something like a Scarvet, though obviously not winning. Besides that, there is a Mage of Metal on foot over here. She will, of course, be looking to support the Lothan Seaguard here, help breach the armor on Zlok, or perhaps on the Amazon Barbs, Croxagores, whatever unit it may be, and making them more vulnerable to missile pressure. Front line of white lines as well as spears already moving in to engage, and you can see we are looking to get our charges off with the red crested skinks, soak up those charges, and then let the Croxagores dive in and put the beat down on those High Elf Axemen. So engagements are going down there. You can see the Razordons took a handful of shots there, but we're not going to heal them. I don't really want to waste magic on that right now, especially since we do have all their models available. And as you can see, their breath attack does go down, melts the red crested skinks a good bit, racks up 15 kills on the Star Dragon, but these white lines are all but gone already. Zlok, of course, just doing work. Plague of Rust, however, does hit him, and with only 70 armor, he is a very, very susceptible target. However, Net has hit the dragon, and with all of that pressure from the Razordons, he's going to start suffering quite badly. You can see he's already dropped to 4,300 HP. He's poisoned. He's just taking a pounding from those volleys. Of course, 2,400 damage, even with all those misses, is going to add up. You've got 4,800 damage every 10 seconds pouring into this guy. Earthblood is dropping down. My opponent doing everything to preserve the Star Dragon, but really, really bleeding quite badly here. And it's really only the insane leadership and raw HP of the Star Dragon that keeps it afloat. Over here in the meantime, Croxagores are going to put the beat down on Alariel and alongside the Star Scarvets. You can see that very annoying Star of Avalorn going down because, God forbid, we be able to out-damage healing here. So Star Dragon is getting healed through all of this pain and suffering. But the Croxagores and the Star Scarvets are just laying the smackdown on Alariel, and she is starting to suffer. Unfortunately, over here, the Red Crested Skinks do overextend a little bit, chasing after the white line, so big misplay there. I should have kept them in the fight here. Perhaps that poison could have secured the kill on the Star Dragon, but he does waddle away, being a pain in the rear there, takes off the ground, and the Star Scarvet wasn't able to stop him, but we are going to be able to pin this noble in place. Unfortunately for Lord Mazda Mundi, though, despite Cold-Blooded going down, he is taking a pounding from all those Lothan Seaguard, just damage pouring in. We did hit him with a banishment earlier, but really hasn't secured much. But fortunately, we don't have to worry about any more Plagues of Rust, as the Mage of Metal is removed from play. Those Red Crested Skinks putting the beat down on that lady, and she is being pursued from the field, that shiny staff providing no succor against the power of those skink mallets. And so she is in full flight. And as you can see here, Larry and the Star Dragon not really having an opportunity to flex down. Now, Lord Mazda Mundi is pretty crippled right now. We do pop an Apotheosis, looking to get that small heal in there. But really with 1,400 HP, now going up to about 1,800, he is really, really not in a good shape. We do manage to net Alariel here, but unfortunately, it's not going to be as beneficial as I'd hoped. I really hoped to shoot her down here and just shut her down with a whole bunch of spines, but the missiles are making her stagger, and when she staggers, it means that all the other projectiles whiff. And so she's getting saved here by dumb animations, and unfortunately there's not much I can do about that. I realize it's just not going to work out, so I actually shift fire to the Star Dragon, start pounding away at that big boy. We do drop his HP much, much faster. On the ground like this, he can't maneuver, he can't really escape, and he is suffering. Larry, in the meantime, does, of course, dive down, looking to disrupt that back line, and yeah, we're going to try to stop her. We got our fat toad over here trying to get in there. He is still taking continuous fire from those Lothan Seaguard, but that does mean at least that the Amazon Barbs are not taking damage. The Star Dragon once again getting healed with a Earthblood there. Does dive in. Larry popping her Arcane Conduit, but the Dragon is just bleeding so much HP here. The crossfire of darts just pouring in, but unfortunately Terror there kicks in, chasing off the Amazon Barbs. And although we do have the Dragon quite badly whittled down, he's sticking around. You can see that leadership just barely holding. He's down 200 HP, but he does pivot around, getting that breath attack on Mazda Mundi. We're not able to heal him, and Cold-Blooded kicking in, holding him in play, but look at that damage. Even as the Star Dragon topples from play, the Lord Mazda Mundi here on 12 HP, almost a goner, and we are just waddling away for dear life. Apotheos is still on cooldown, so we can't get that in. But Larry here is netted, prevents her from getting into the fray, and Mazda Mundi now waddling away. And my opponent doesn't shoot Mazda Mundi, which I think is a big mistake. The Lothan Seaguard could have put him down right there, but they did not. And so Mazda Mundi gets an Apotheosis in, and he is going to come back with a vengeance. With 130 armor, he can really shrug off a lot of this damage. You can see a very mean banishment just pouring through, messing up this Lothan Seaguard, as well as what's left of the cover of Sotek. But Mazda Mundi very much on the verge of death. Cold-Blooded is really the only thing keeping him in play right now. We do also pop that Shield of the Old Ones and dive into the Lothan Seaguard, looking to evade Larry as best we can. But there's no support for him. Mazdamundi's definitely on his last tether, though it doesn't really matter at this point. My opponent doesn't have terror or anything to exploit the loss of leadership. Mazdamundi drops to 75 HP as Larry dives in on him. And she does pivot away. And that is going to allow Jabba the Hutt to chase her off. Horns lowered on Zlok, looking to get that kill, but isn't able to, as the Pigeon Lady takes to the skies and flees with her troops. So, a big victory for the Lizardmen. And one that really highlights just how powerful Razordons can be, as well as how powerful wonky animations can be. As we saw there, Larry really just able to shrug off that missile play. And these guys do have pretty good projectile velocity. They do have... they don't do that much damage per hit. You wouldn't think they'd stagger that much, but yeah, Eagles stagger, and then you waste all your shots on them, so it's just not worth it. So yeah, Larry gets a little bit of protection there, but the Razordons paid for themselves easily against the Star Dragon. They just melted his face off, did massive amounts of damage, did some pressure on Alariel, and just poured on the heat. And 4,800 damage every 10 seconds really does add up. It is an insane amount, especially against a big target like this that can't dodge. Against stuff like Giants or Norscan Mammoths, these guys can be disgustingly powerful. They're just absolutely strong. They're much stronger than people give them credit for, in my opinion. But of course, you do have to be careful. I do think the build here synergized and worked out relatively well. The Skinks did their job. They managed to zone and screen for the Kroxigors. The Kroxigors did a great job beating down the High Elf Infantry. And fortunately, my opponent didn't have cav, and I think that was a bit of a mistake with this build, lacking cavalry. I think you could have probably cut like 2 of the spears here. And I'm trying to think what else you could finagle around. You could definitely cut like 2 of the spears there, and then perhaps cut the Boon of Isha on Alariel. Though then again, I think you do want to cram in the shield stone somehow. Maybe downgrade one of these guys to like an archer. And then you could have 2 Illyrian Reavers, and that would have applied much more pressure. I think that would have been far more valuable, because in this game, I was able to kite away with the Amazon Barbs and escape the spear pressure. But if those had been Illyrian Reavers diving my backline, I would have had to pull Kroxigors or Star Scarvets or both to screen Illyrian Reavers out. Illyrian Reavers will shut down Amazon Barbs. People often look at that armor and the fact they do AP damage and have some combat stats and fear as a show that these guys can kind of fight in melee, but they really can't. Razordons can't defend themselves worth a damn. So they're not comparable to, say, Lothran Seaguard or Sisters of Avalorn or something. So you really do want protection for them. But if you can get some light cav on these guys, you'll shut them down hard. And I think my opponent had a bit of a mistake here with the build and missing a little bit of cavalry. Not a lot, but just a little bit. Otherwise, though, not a bad composition, I think. Definitely had some great tools there. Had that Armor Sundering from Plague of Rust. I do think trying to play a little more cautiously with the Mage of Metal might have been good as well. Might have been able to snipe out Mazdamundi a little sooner. And just being more cautious of the Star Dragon in the presence of those Razordons. But regardless, well played to Levillain here. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. As usual, leave your thoughts, opinions, comments, and critiques down below. I'll do my best to respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one. Wyvern out.